TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation.
Shalom and good evening. Erev Tov. I am Mayan Hassan and this is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. U.S. President Donald Trump warns Hamas that it must disarm, the easy way or the hard way. Iran threatens the United States with a decisive response if attacked. Turkey urges the United States not to attack the Islamic Republic of Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump announces his support for the newly appointed Palestinian technocratic government to govern over the Gaza Strip during its transition, as part of the second phase of his 20-point plan. The American leader insisted that these newly appointed Palestinian leaders are unwaveringly committed to a peaceful future. Separately, President Trump insisted that with the support of Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar, the United States will secure a comprehensive demilitarization agreement with Hamas to include the surrender of all weapons and the dismantling of every tunnel. Moreover, since Hamas continues to be in breach of Trump's peace initiative, the president stressed that Hamas must immediately honor its commitments, including the return of the final body to Israel, namely that of captive hostage Ran Gevili, who was murdered by the Palestinian terror group on October 7, 2023. President Trump also reiterated that Hamas must proceed with full demilitarization, without delay, with an unequivocal warning, quote, "They can do this the easy way or the hard way." Turning to New York, where the United Nations Security Council held a meeting called by the U.S. mission to the world body, during which Ambassador Mike Waltz stressed that the people of Iran are demanding freedom like never before.
President Donald J. Trump and the United States of America stands by the brave people of Iran, period. And regardless of its excuses, and you will hear many today from the Iranian regime and from its friends, the regime is solely responsible for the economic misery of the Iranian people and the repression of their freedom, and they will be held accountable.
Ambassador Waltz continued by underlining that the terror regime in Tehran, which butchered thousands of its citizens within a mere several days, is clearly afraid of its own people.
I would like to address the allegation put forward by the regime that these inspired protests are somehow a foreign plot to give a precursor to military action. Everyone in the world needs to know that the regime is weaker than ever before and therefore is putting forward this lie because of the power of the Iranian people in the streets. They are afraid. They're afraid of their own people. Iran says it's ready for dialogue, but its actions say otherwise. This is a regime that rules through oppression, through violence, and through intimidation, and has destabilized the Middle East for decades. Well, enough is enough. We all have a responsibility to support the Iranian people and to put an end to the regime's neglect and oppression of the Iranian nation. Colleagues, let me be clear. President Trump is a man of action, not endless talk like we see at the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter.
Ambassador Waltz's remarks were in reference to the Iranian claims that Israel and the United States are behind the popular uprising against the Ayatollah regime throughout Iran. And with the possibility of a U.S.-led attack posing an existential threat to the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, Iran's ambassador to the UN desperately pleaded with the United States to hold back, warning that any strike against national institutions would be met with a response.
It is deeply regrettable that the representative of the United States regime who requested this meeting has today resorted to lies, distortion of facts, and deliberate misinformation to conceal his country's direct involvement in steering unrest in Iran to violence. Any threat to use of force against the Islamic Republic of Iran under any pretext, including claims of protecting protesters or supporting the Iranian people, constitute a grave and manifest violation of international law and the UN Charter. Iran seeks neither escalation nor confrontation. However, any act of aggression, direct or indirect, will be met with a decisive, proportionate, and lawful response under Article 51 of the Charter. This is not a threat. It is a statement of legal reality. Responsibility for all consequences will rest solely with those who initiate such unlawful acts.
Russia's ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, for his part, sees the opportunity to make baseless accusations against the United States, claiming that the Iranian regime is peace-loving and misunderstood.
What is most concerning is Washington's aggressive course towards the use of military force and threats of its use against Iran. We condemn such actions no matter what arguments are used to justify them as a gross violation of international law and the UN Charter. We strongly urge the hotheads in Washington and other capitals who seem to be contemplating a repeat military venture to come to their senses and avoid a repetition of the tragedy of June 2025, when U.S.-Israeli aggression nearly resulted in a major nuclear catastrophe with inevitable humanitarian and environmental consequences. We demand that the United States and its like-minded partners refrain from further reckless steps, including those involving nuclear facilities. They should rather focus on providing solid assurances against further confrontation and resume joint efforts to find potential solutions. This includes addressing unfounded concerns regarding Iran's peaceful nuclear program. All of this should be done on the basis of international law and seeking a balance of all stakeholders' interests.
Meanwhile, last night, during the annual conference for the Israeli-American Council in Miami, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff pledged U.S. support for the people of Iran. The top American official continued by clarifying that he favors a diplomatic resolution over military action, while emphasizing the key factors for friction are nuclear ambitions, uranium enrichment, quantity of missiles, and the Iranian proxies.
I hope there's a diplomatic resolution. I really do. There are 4 issues: nuclear enrichment, missiles. They have to cut back on their inventory. The actual material that they have, which is roughly 2,000 kilograms, which is enriched anywhere between 3.67% and 60%, and the proxies, of course.
It is important to highlight that while President Donald Trump has postponed the imminent strike on the Ayatollah regime meant to take place last Wednesday night, the American military is deploying significant amounts of assets into the region, with at least one aircraft carrier strike group already on its way to the Naval Forces Central Command Area of Responsibility. And while deliberations in Washington related to the scope of the potential strike are still ongoing, the assets being directed to the Middle East indicate a large-scale offensive that could incapacitate the Iranian regime remains on the table. Meanwhile, American regional allies, to include Qatar and Turkey, are trying to convince President Trump not to topple the Ayatollah regime in Iran.
Our priority is to avoid any situation that would lead to the use of force, but as we saw in the past few months, during the 12-day war, we faced attacks first from Israel and then from America, even though limited, and that attack stopped at a certain point. Now, the possibility of this happening again is not something we condone. We absolutely want problems to be solved through dialogue. I believe that widespread instability in Iran is far beyond the region's capacity to handle. Therefore, we will continue diplomatic efforts.
Ankara's top diplomat further addressed President Trump's announcement to impose 25% tariffs on countries trading with the Islamic Republic of Iran, stressing that Turkey, which has a robust trade partnership with Iran, did not experience any change.
So far, as you know, this is a declaration, a presidential decree regarding this, and under it, there hasn't been any study on which countries will be affected, which materials will be impacted, and which won't. There's just a statement like that. There's nothing else after that. So, right now, there's no concrete presidential decision that would realistically put this on our agenda.
Başkanlık kararı henüz yok.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to seize this opportunity to point out that TV7 Israel is exclusively funded by the support of our viewers. And therefore, if you feel blessed by our productions and would like to help us produce our daily news updates, please consider supporting TV7 with a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, please pray for the people of Iran fighting for their freedom, in addition to for the peace of Jerusalem and Israel. I am Ayan Hassan, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, and until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.